Tell me, and I forget. Teach me, and I may remember. Involve me, and I learn. Good morning, the galaxy of intellectuals, esteemed dignitaries, professors, and participants. We appreciate your patience and thank you for joining us today. I, Maria Tati, on behalf of the Center for Environment Studies, Law and Policy, CMR University School of Legal Studies, welcome you all to the first national seminar on the scientific and societal views on environment and its legal approach. The CMR University Center for Environmental Studies, Law and Policy was established in the year 2021 with the vision of creating legal awareness and imparting knowledge on environmental law. Since its inception, it has undertaken numerous initiatives in fostering discussion and capacity building, in addition to the various conferences and talks presided by renowned scholars and other relevant stakeholders and industry specialists from across the nation. This is the first national seminar organized by the Center aimed at addressing the legal issue and disputes in relation to the national environment and subsequently understanding the recent developments in the system governing environmental laws. The seminar propounds on the social and scientific uncertainties in environmental law which hinder its administration, the challenges in ensuring environmental justice, canvassing the tortious liability in private sectors causing environmental harm, the wildlife laws and their significance for human survival, and these issues are said to be discussed by eminent speakers who are experts in their fields. The seminar is set to proceed in 2 sessions. The first session would be from 10:30 to 12:45 p.m., presided over by Professor Dr. Sairam Bhatt and Dr. Srinivas Ravindra. The second session starts at 1:30, going ahead to 3:30 p.m., presided over by Professor Dr. M.K. Ramesh and Mr. Manoj Kumar. There will be a short break at 11:30, and we shall break for lunch at 12:45. We shall now begin. Music is the universal language of mankind. When words fail, music speaks. To grace the occasion, I invite Pranav, a second-year student of BBA LLB, to render the invocation song.
महागणपते महीपते महागणपते महीपते वा सिद्धिपते सुमते निरे महागणपते हंसनाद प्रियकरं सुकुमारकनरादृतम् हिरण्मयं हेरम्भं ध्याये महागणपते कर्षण कंपने जातं नादं तन्नादात् शब्दं तत्त्रिमानभावमक्षरम् अक्षरे यन्त्रं नादचतुर्मानम् महागणपते सनि पप मम रे सरे म पनि सा रे म पनि सा रे म पनि सा महागणपते सरे म पनि नि सा सा नि पप म रे सा सा रे म पनि सा सा रे म पनि सा सा रे म पनि सा महा
Thank you, Pranav, for the euphonious melody. That was indeed a feast for the ears. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. I now invite the dignitaries to come forward to light the lamp of wisdom. I request the audience to kindly rise during the lighting of the lamp. Thank you, dignitaries. I now invite our Honorable Dean, Dr. T.R. Subramanya, to address the gathering and welcome our guest speakers.
A very good morning to all of you. On behalf of the CMR group of institutions, the chairman and the chancellor and the board of governors, I deem it a great privilege to welcome our chief guest, Shri Subhash Malkhed. Subhash Malkhed happened to be from the IFS cadre, and he is serving as the additional chief secretary to the government of Karnataka. Sir, we are honored to have you today. When I just requested him, he just agreed. He just agreed because we had a lasting relationship, because he was working as the registrar for the Karnataka State Law University. So, a wonderful administrator, and ultimately we had to leave him when he was transferred. Without speaking much, sir, we are again, I say, honored to have. On behalf of the university, I welcome you, sir. We have another additional secretary. He is Mr. Manoj Kumar. The other day he had come here. At least a few of you must have heard him, how effective he is and how practical in the approach. He is also working for the government of Karnataka. On behalf of the Board of Management and the Board of Governors, I welcome you, sir. I request Pranishwaran to present the chair applause. We have Professor Dr. Sairam Bhatt, Professor of Law at the National Law School of India, and he will be speaking after the inaugural address as indicated by our MC. Sir, we are honored to have you. Have you too on behalf of the institution. I welcome. A warm welcome to all the candidates who are participants in this seminar. One or two teachers are there. I also welcome all of them, and with best wishes to all of you. Just enjoy and learn something about the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Anuka, a second-year student of LLB, to introduce our guest, Mr. Subhash Malkhed, IFS Additional Principal, Chief Commissioner of Forests, Aranya Bhavan.
Thank you, Maria. Good morning, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome our guest, Mr. Subhash Malkhed, IFS Additional Principal, Chief Conservator of Forests, Aranya Bhavan. Sir is a 1989 batch Karnataka cadre officer and hails from Maharashtra. The initial training of Sir's forest service was done at Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, Dehradun. During his career, Sir has undertaken various roles. Sir has held the position as Assistant Conservator of Forests, Male, Mahadeshwara Hills, when notorious smuggler Veerappan was active in the area. He has coordinated with police and BSF in special task force activities. Further, Sir has also acted as the Deputy Conservator of Forests and worked in various capacities as Social Forestry, Working Plants, Mysore Paper Mills, Territorial Division, Haryar. Sir has also worked in the Tourism Department as General Manager, Jungle Lodges and Resorts Limited. As a Conservator of Forest, Sir has worked in Forest Industries Corporation and served in Sirsi Territorial Circle. On promotion, Sir was posted as Registrar, Karnataka State Law University, Hubli from 2012 to 2013. Sir was also posted as Managing Director, Karnataka State Electronic Development Corporation, Bangalore. He has also worked in various capacities as Additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, first in Vigilance Wing, followed by Wildlife Wing, and at present heads the Working Plans Wing of the department. Sir's hobbies include listening to old Hindi songs, ghazals during his spare time. Sir, we are honored to have you here with us today. Sir, now we welcome you to address the gathering.
Good morning, everyone. I am indeed very happy to be here, just because when Sir requested, I cannot say no. So, Sir, it was not that I said immediately yes because I knew something about CMR, but once you say, it is more like a summon for me. So I have to be here as a chief guest. So I am thankful to you for giving me such a big honor. Professor Subramaniam, my dear friend and colleague, Mr. Manoj Kumar, Professor Sairam Bhatt, faculty members of CMR Institute, and dear students. I think it is a big task because we in government are not really very often that we address anyone and tell, because these days students know what they want to do. I will not give you any sermon as to what you should do, how much you should study, what you should study. But then there is something big that CMR Institute has done, and that is having a School of Environmental Studies. I am sure it is Sir's idea, and he has put it up to have something like environmental studies. I am no environmental expert, but forests do constitute something as a part of environment, we would say. So I would be telling you something more about how we as a managers of forests, that is one natural resource that is available, and it is in large quantity. It occupies land space, land mass, which is almost 20% in the country, and 20 plus rather. And similarly in case of Karnataka also, it is more than 20%. So we are custodians, we are doing it on the part of government, for public at large, and for our future generations. We have to see that these forests are conserved, they are developed, they are maintained, and no harm takes place to such. So what I would be addressing you about is not about what students should do, and I will be telling you how, as a forest managers, we face difficulties when there are legal orders that are passed and we need to act according to them, which sometimes is paradoxical. So, giving you a brief about forests of Karnataka, because this national seminar is having varied speakers who are really going to hit the topic directly, like societal and scientific uncertainties in environmental law. The topic itself is a little, I am myself trying to understand it, and certainly wildlife laws and its significance for human survival, it is going to be a very, very interesting subject which Manoj is going to touch. So talking about forests, I think every one of us know, right in childhood, in primary schools itself, we learn about forests, trees, birds, animals. That is how we try to learn about it. But then learning about forest, reading about forest in a newspaper or in magazine or in a book, and really going and working in forest or managing the forest or administrating the management of forest itself is a very different task. So as a forest officer, as an IFS officer, you may expect me to know at least 200 species of trees, or at least 100 species of birds. But that is a scientific work, that is a academical work, whereas we deal with day-to-day problems that we face from different quarters. So, forests have been explained in detail right from the old texts, whether it is Puranas or Vedas. Everywhere you find some kind of a reference to forest and how we should conserve our natural resources, whether it is rivers, lakes, wild animals, forests, trees, everything we need to conserve. But the problem started as we had several rurals and we had people who tried to exploit forests for different purposes. Like during the Mughal period, it was quite common that hunting had become for consumption as well as for sport. It had become a common thing. This was continued when Britishers came into India. Britishers first saw forests as a large resource which had no purpose. But when they found that it is like a open treasury with gold inside. Gold in the sense trees which are very useful, like teak trees of Karnataka, especially Dandeli. They were considered the best trees for shipbuilding in 17th century. So they exploited teak to maximum from Karnataka as well as from some parts of northern India and took this teak all the way to England for shipbuilding purposes. So there was no proper management in which forest could be grown to and cut to the capacity by which they are growing. It is a dynamic resource. So it keeps on adding growth and you can take out whatever has grown in a piece of land. So that is what is called sustainable management of a resource. If say certain quantity of resource has grown, say 10 cubic meters of timber has been added in last 10 years. So you are free to take out 10 cubic meters from this. So that kind of a thing was not there. Wherever they found good trees, they cut it and took it. But they themselves realized that if we keep on cutting forests like this, we will not be able to, because they never thought that they will live in 1947. They thought they will be here for another next 200, 300 years. So they thought that let us manage this resource in a way by which we can use whatever is the incremental. So in 1864, they established something called Forest Service for the country. And German Sir Brandis was brought from Germany to see that how India's forest could be managed. So they were right from Peshawar up to Rangoon. Everything was traversed by the gentleman and he gave how we should manage the forests of India. So based on that, service was created and Indian Imperial Forest Service was created at that point of time. And they said that let us manage this forest properly. But again, the world wars again had a toll on all the forests. At that time, working of the forest was not according to the management practices. So what I am presently holding post of working plans, it is a post where we need to give plans as to how a particular piece of land or a particular forest is to be managed. So that working plans were made at that point of time. After independence, this all of you know because all of you are students of law. In Constitution, framers of the Constitution had known what is the importance of forest and natural resources. So in Article 48, they have said that state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. So forest and wildlife were given importance during writing of the Constitution itself. And this further, as the international cry for saving forests grew in Stockholm convocation was held in 1972. In 1976, the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, thought that forests need to be conserved because between 19 1947 to 1972, till Stockholm took place, we had something like 25 million hectares of forest had already been destroyed. Because as country was new, there was lot of demand for food grains, and forests were considered wasteland and they were converted into agricultural lands. And being a new nation, young nation, we also wanted a lot of developmental projects, whether it is hydel power or new communication roads or any developmental activity that was taking place. It required land, and land was taken from forest. So what happened is we lost lot of forests. So in 1976, Mrs. Gandhi brought it into concurrent list under the 42nd Amendment to the Constitution. Once it came to concurrent list, what happened is that all the diversion of forest land for any other purpose was through permission that was required from central government. Not only state governments were not having powers. So Mrs. Gandhi did something that is a landmark thing in conserving our forest today. That was enactment of Forest Conservation Act in 1980. Forest Conservation Act is one act that has conserved our forest to a great extent, I would say. And of course, before that, she had also got one very important enactment, that was Wildlife Protection Act 1972. But I am talking about the land mass and forest conservation, why it is so much important. So we are already managing the forest in a scientific way, and there are already set of laws which govern anything that tries to destroy it, whether it is Indian Forest Act of 1927 or Karnataka Forest Act 1963, Wildlife Protection Act, Forest Conservation Act. All these acts had anyone violating these acts, there was punishment. So how should we, after that also, why forests were not getting conserved to a large extent? Because implementation of these acts had been some hindrance because of our societal as well as economic plus developmental activities happening at a large scale. Even today also, developmental activities are going at a very, very large pace, but we are trying to, there is a small minority of forest officers who are trying to conserve it in some way. So most of the time, forest officers are considered to be anti-development, but it is not so. We are not anti-development. In fact, we also use the same electricity, we also use the same roads. So being human beings, we cannot be against human beings. It is only the mandate that has been given to forest officers which makes us do our job in a way by which we need to conserve this resource for the future. Now I will come to a very, very important landmark judgment that actually changed the course of action in which forests are being managed today. It happened that one Mr. Godavarman had filed a PIL in Supreme Court in the year 1995. It was related to Kerala, but Supreme Court took a notice and it issued notices to all the chief secretaries in whole of the country, and it is generally called Godavarman case. It is writ petition 202/95, and it is a continual writ petition because still today no final order has been issued, and I think there have been not less than maybe almost 10,000 IAs, or it may be more than 10,000 IAs that have been filed in this case. Honorable Supreme Court in this particular case has dwelled on all kinds of issues that are related to forest, whether it is managing sawmills, whether it is writing of working plans, how you should write, what should be the method of who has to approve the working plans. Earlier they were being approved by state, now it has to go to Government of India for approval. Then even when it comes to mining, several landmark judgments are there which decides on how mining is to be done. Case in point is Kudremukha Iron Ore Company. It was working on temporary permits. It is in a very highly fragile ecosystem of Western Ghats. I think some of you might have visited in Chikmagalur and Udupi district. So Kudremukh Iron Ore Company was taking out iron ore from highly sensitive. You know, Western Ghats is a fragile ecosystem, and they were running on temporary permits. When a PIL-IA was filed, they stopped the mining and they have given a judgment that there shall be no more mining in Western Ghats, anywhere in the Western Ghats, not only Karnataka, whether it is Maharashtra or Kerala, irrespective of that. No one should be doing it. And similarly, on this judgment was delivered on 12th of December 1996 by Chief Justice J.S. Verma and Justice B.N. Kripal. So, how a Forest Conservation Act should be. What court found at that point of time is that Forest Conservation Act is not being followed true to its spirit. So they told that no more further diversion. In fact, it was such a condition in 1996 and 97 that all the works in whatever were happening in forest department were stopped. Sawmills were stopped. Forest working was stopped because they said unless you have permission you cannot go. So for each case we had to seek permission, and fallout of that was the administration got streamlined. All those who were running on temporary permits, all those who were running illegally, either had to stop or seek permission under Forest Conservation Act. So this was one great judgment which has taken course in forest management. Similarly, after some time, they even did not spare Wildlife Protection Act also, and first and foremost they said that no de-reserving of national parks and sanctuaries will take place. I think most of you might be knowing what national parks and sanctuaries are. These are the areas which have been kept exclusively for wildlife management, where you have flagship species. In Karnataka, I think most of you must be from Karnataka. In Karnataka, you have places like Nagarhole, Bandipur, and in our outskirts we have Bannerghetta, Dandeli. All these are wildlife areas. They are managed in a different way, so that as per Supreme Court order only, in one of the IAs, in the same case, Honorable Supreme Court said no material, whether dead, fallen, deceased, shall be taken out of such wildlife areas. Why it was said so is that you are focusing on larger animals like say tiger or elephant. But what about the smaller animals, insects, spiders which are living in dead trees? So you cannot take out anything because these are areas specially assigned for wildlife. So we in Karnataka we have more than 10,000 square kilometer of such area, which is 25% of our Karnataka's forests. Before I end, I will come to the very recent judgment that has come in the same writ petition, and this is in this month only, that is on 3rd of June. There is a concept called eco-sensitive zone. Eco-sensitive zone is a concept which was given in 2011. This was regarding when they found that eco-sensitive areas adjoining all such wildlife areas should be protected so that there are corridors maintained for animals to move from one area to another forest. So these areas were outside protected areas, that is outside wildlife areas, and a buffer was created all along the boundary. Initially it was said to be 10 kilometers, then subsequently Government of India changed it to whatever is possible. But what happens outside wildlife areas is, it is within villages, it is in farmlands. So all these areas are called eco-sensitive zones. So there are three kinds of activities that are there in such eco-sensitive zones. One is prohibited activity. Prohibited activities are like, say something like mining cannot take place in eco-sensitive zone and 1 kilometer from boundary of any wildlife area. You can't have quarrying, mining, you can't have hazardous industries, you cannot leave out effluents, you can't keep wood-based industries within this 1 kilometer area, you can't have brick kilns, which are harmful. All such harmful activities are prohibited. Then there are permitted activities. So permitted activities are like, you can have your own house constructed, you can do say renewable energy sources can be put. And then there are regulated activities. Regulated activities, for regulating any such activity, there is one monitoring committee headed by regional commissioner. But and they were doing that job. So whoever wants to have an activity which is regulated, he will apply to the monitoring committee, and monitoring committee will give permission or deny it based on the merits of the case. But the judgment of 3rd June has stopped all such activities, and they have said that 1 kilometer is minimum where you can have eco-sensitive zone, you can't have less than that. So we have a eco-sensitive zone in case of Bannerghatta, which is 100 meters, because there is industrial estate next to Bannerghatta National Park. We have now, if we go in 1 kilometer, you will have several hazardous industries which will come within this 1 kilometer. And similarly, this was actually, IA was for one particular sanctuary of Rajasthan, but Honorable Court has given blanket order for the whole country. And one thing which I feel will have a great impact when we talk about this societal part of it, sir, is that they have stopped any new construction within the eco-sensitive zone. You can't have any construction, and PCCF has been asked to map all those existing constructions. So in eco-sensitive zone, you have villages, you have farmlands. If we can't allow person to build his own home, then we are, I think we are violating the constitution in another way. So this is being studied now, because this has been given only on 3rd of June. And if need be, we would be certainly seeking change in the order from Honorable Supreme Court, because this may have a larger impact on society, and the worst part would be, it will be counterproductive for us in protecting wild animals, because those who are staying in the vicinity of such wildlife areas, they are the maximum sufferers. Manoj is going to tell you about man-animal conflict. Most conflict areas are within this eco-sensitive zone, because large animals like elephants or tigers, when they come out of wildlife areas and stray into farmlands and kill the cattle or destroy the crops, it is not the person who is sitting in Bangalore who is suffering, it is the person who is living next to the wildlife area who is suffering. And I would say he is suffering for conserving our forests and wildlife. So when he has given so much for conserving it, we may speak here, we may take out rally, we will say save wildlife, protect wildlife, everything we can do in Bangalore, Kabban Park, we can walk, everything is possible. But actual conserving he is doing. Because if he does not kill an animal, even after his cattle is killed, or if he does not kill an elephant, even after his crop is damaged, though we give him compensation and all, but suffering is always there. So despite suffering, when the conservation takes place, I think that person should not suffer because of other legal problems. And with this, I wish all students all the very best. My interaction with law and legal studies has been a little bit when I was registrar in Karnataka State Law University, and sir was vice chancellor there, and we had a very good team working. I think Manoj also worked for some time in Law University as registrar, and Professor Sairam Bhatt's name used to always come there as real legal luminary who I think all the people who used to come, Professor Ishwar Bhatt and all, they used to always take his name, sir. I don't know. I think he is a real gem, I think, in legal studies. So, with all these words, sir, I am really thankful to you that I could come and speak to students. I don't know how much of what I told, because it's too much of technical goes there. But since the topic is environment, and forest is one of the main part of the environment, because I did not want to touch on solid waste management or lake rejuvenations or any other thing. I have not worked. Manoj has worked. Manoj is a multifaceted person, sir. I think Manoj will be giving far more emphasis on many topics, and I would urge students that they should ask more and more questions to him, because he is one presenter who can really tell you about forests, wildlife. He is expert in all the fields. Environment. He was member secretary of Pollution Control Board, so he knows everything that is there. And with sir being at the helm of affairs, and with your experienced faculty, I am sure this national seminar will be a grand success. Wishing all the best in your careers. I thank everyone and organizers here for making me the chief guest, and I am really pleased that I could give this inaugural address to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with the details and for the insightful talk. I now invite our director, Dr. Vijay Pranishwaran, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Vote of thanks only for the inaugural session. The national conference is yet to started, but yet to go. You will have 2 sessions, ruling sessions, and we have a long list of experts talking. We are very thankful to our chief guest, Mr. Subhash Malkede, IFS, Additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, Government of Karnataka, for having accepted an invitation and delivering the inaugural address. Thank you very much, sir. I request our beloved Dean, sir, to kindly hand over a memento as a token of our love. Thank you very much, sir. We are also thankful to Mr. Manoj Kumar, IFS, Additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, Government of Karnataka, and Professor Dr. Sairam Bhatt for their gracious presence, being present for the inauguration. That was very kind of you. Thank you very much. We are also thankful to our beloved Dean for having being instrumental in conducting such programs. Thank you very much, sir. We are also thankful to the faculty present, the coordinator of the center, and of course the participants, dear students. Thank you very much. The inaugural session is coming to an end, and you will go into the sessions wherein you will be learning about the actual crux of the national seminar. Thank you very much.